Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of Creator Spotlight from The Interface. Creator Spotlight is our brand new series where we talk to creators about what they make and do and how they got started. Today I'm joined by Tom Sykes, who runs the popular Apple News website, The Apple Post. Tom has a background in journalism and has even written for one of Manchester's leading newspapers. So welcome, Tom.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's an honour to be here.
Yeah, no problem. So if people don't know much about you, so you run The Apple Post. How long have you been doing that for?
That's right, the Apple Post has just celebrated its 10-year anniversary, so I've been doing it for 10 years. It started out very much as just sort of a hobby. It was a Facebook page that I started just to share Apple news and my interest for technology with my small sort of group of friends and family. And it just sort of grew from there. The Facebook page expanded, I opened up my website, and the stories took off. So yeah, the Apple Post is very much a hobby that's now turned into a career.
Great, yeah. So it's got a very familiar, got a very similar startup story to how the interface, my website, got started. So I started it as used to be called like Alex and Tom's Tech or something back in the day.
Yeah.
So I started it on Facebook as well, and it grew to a website. So it's very similar sort of origins. So it's interesting to
Yeah,
see
I
how it
remember
goes.
the
So
yeah. I remember the Alex and Tom's Tech days. I mean, we were just saying just before we hit record, we must have known each other now for at least 7 years. Just through Twitter and social media. So, yeah, we both sort of share a very similar story that goes back a similar time.
yeah, it's sort of teaching. I sort of taught myself how to make websites, well, edit websites and that sort of thing. So it's definitely a big learning curve in running one. So is the Apple Post a full time thing for you now?
Yeah, I mix the Apple Post with something else. I everything I do is to do with technology. My Twitter bio describes me very well, usually found behind a Mac. So yeah, I spend my day staring at a screen, but the Apple Post is definitely a priority for me.
That's
The Apple
brilliant.
Post is very seasonal, I would say. I think, as you'll know, being into technology yourself, there's a lot of work that goes in towards sort of the fall, the autumn time. So yeah, I keep myself busy with it.
That's great. So have you? It used to be like a thing you did by yourself. I think. Have you got? I think you've got some
Yeah.
extra people helping you now. Is that how many people have you got helping you edit the Apple Post?
Yeah, so it's usually myself that does the bulk of the work, but we do have three other contributing writers as well. So there's Timothy in Texas Timothy. We have a friend of mine, Brandon. He's in London. He helps out, and then we also have a guy called Nathan. He's in Australia. So the team is all around the world that help out. And that's sort of grown and changed throughout the years. I mean, I've always been in charge of the Apple Post, but I've had people that have written for me throughout the years. I think you may remember Nathan, for example. There was one of them back from many years ago. So yeah, it's myself in charge of the Apple Post, but I couldn't do it without the support of the contributors as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I did see a little while ago that you were working for a Manchester news. I can't exactly remember the name of it. I think Manchester Echo. I think I might be right.
It was the Manchester
Um,
Gazette, yeah. So
yes.
yeah, that's right. So I do have an interest and a passion for journalism. It's something that's always sort of interested me. I don't know if you saw when the Apple Post celebrated its 10-year anniversary, there was some local press coverage on myself and the journey of the Apple Post. So
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic. For anybody listening and anybody watching that doesn't necessarily know what that means, that just simply means that you struggle with your reading and your writing and your maths and things like that. So for me, when I was in high school and I was doing my exams and my GCSEs, there was no way that I ever thought I'd be able to sort of pursue a career in journalism. I mean, suffering with dyslexia and finding it hard to spell certain words or to string sentences together. No way I ever think I'd be going down this path, let alone writing for myself and then also having like stories in newspapers and things like
Yeah.
that. So the Apple Post is sort of it's proving to myself that I can do it. And I would definitely say it's helped me a lot with my sort of struggles and moving forward. So yeah, I also write for the Manchester Gazette. I've done that for quite a while now. I am
That's
focusing
cool.
more on the Apple Post and my own work, but I always have that sort of door open there to write whenever I see fit. So it's quite nice if I see a story that interests me, or if there's an event happening in the local area that I want to sort of cover. That door's always there, but the Apple Post is the primary one.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, when I was at school, I didn't really enjoy writing that much. I've quite struggled with it. But it's quite funny that I've written loads of stuff from the interface. And then my job has started in April. Is for I'm doing content creation for a tech company. So I'm writing
Yeah,
most days. So it's quite funny how I didn't
yeah.
really enjoy writing
It's
at
weird
school.
how
And
it plays
just
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's mad.
it is really weird how it plays out. There's no way. I mean, like the Apple Post throughout the years, when I look at like the analytics, it's reached millions and millions of people. And if you had told me in that classroom that, oh yeah, in a couple of years' time, you're going to have millions of people reading your stuff, and you're going to have stories, in the Sun, the Metro, and all these different things, I would think I'd be like shivering. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how it all works out?
Yeah, it's weird putting yourself out there a little bit, especially in videos. So I'm making tutorial videos and things for a tech company. It is a bit it gets a little bit daunting putting yourself out there. But I've got
Yeah,
used to it. I guess it's sort of the same
I
thing.
think it.
So
Yeah, it's just sort of getting over that initial fear of putting yourself out there, like you said. I mean, for the first year or so of the Apple Post expanding beyond the Facebook page, nobody knew it was me. I was like writing under the author name, the Apple Post. I didn't want to put myself out there. And I think that was kind of
yeah,
part of me, I don't know, worrying about what people may think, or um, I would be scared of like maybe being criticized for my work or something like that. But then when it started to grow, I was like, I don't think I need to hide anymore. And
yeah,
I remember exactly what I did. I uploaded a picture of like myself. I was like, meet Tom. And I was like, it was only me at the time that was doing it. But I was like, meet Tom. And it was a bit of like an introduction to myself. So yeah, it's funny
yeah. It's
how
nice.
these things change.
Yeah, I think I stuck for ages not putting any pictures of myself on the website. I don't think I've even still got one on there. It's probably need to sort that out at some point. But yeah, I think I had the same thing as you. I didn't want to associate myself with it initially because of all the criticism that didn't even happen anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So that's great. It's the Apple Post is such an interesting website to read. I go on it now and again, a couple of times a week just to see what stuff you put on there. But yeah, it's interesting to see other people's take. A lot of it's difficult with Apple News because it's such a popular thing to cover. Same with like Tesla and stuff. It's everyone's talking about it, so it's difficult to sort of get your own view on it. But it is
Yeah.
interesting to read. Same watching review videos. It's interesting to get other people's perspective on things. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing to keep going with. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've hit the 10-year milestone now. I think a lot has been accomplished within that 10 years. And like you said, it is a very popular topic to cover. And don't get me wrong, when I started the Apple Post, it wasn't like it was the first Apple News page. There was plenty of established pages out there. But, and by no means am I sat here saying the Apple Post is the biggest, but I am proud that at least we sort of established ourselves just a little bit in the community. So yeah, it's a definitely, I'd say more and more over the past couple of years, I've noticed that there's more people sort of covering Apple News. Um, and especially on TikTok, for example, there's just so many pages that are
is there?
uploading videos about Apple. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my algorithm is literally just Apple, Apple, Apple. So yeah, I think it's definitely a growing topic like Tesla. I think a lot more people are now interested in um, Apple, and now the technology is expanding, and it's more people have the latest devices. I think more people, even that aren't techies, are interested in hearing what's new and what's next.
Oh, 100%, definitely. I noticed that recently with the Twitter stuff that's happening at the moment. We'll get to that in a bit. But
Oh yeah.
I noticed like Twitter's definitely sort of a lesser covered kind of social media because it is smaller. But now
Hmm.
all the stuff that's going on at the moment, everyone's covering it now, which is it's such an interesting time to be using it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, well,
There's a lot we can say about that.
yeah, we will get to that. That's fine. So with the Apple stuff, so we this at the end of the year, we a few months ago we had the iPhone 14, we had the iPhone 14 Pro, we had the new iPad. Have you had a chance to have a look at those new devices yet? Or
Yeah, I have the iPhone 14 Pro Max. That's in my pocket now. I
okay,
regularly find myself at the Apple Store, sort of checking out the latest technologies. I have the Apple Watch Series 8. That was also announced at the event. So yeah, I'm rocking two of the devices that were announced.
nice. Yeah, I'm still on iPhone 11 Pro just simply because I just doesn't have got round. I haven't got round to upgrading yet. But yeah, I've used. I had a look at the Apple Store a few months ago. I had a play with the iPhone 14 Pro. Just the screen, the promotion screen is amazing. Just how smooth everything
Yeah,
is. I know that came
yeah,
with the iPhone 13 Pro, but yeah, it's amazing.
yeah. I feel I think ProMotion is one of those features that you don't realize that you need or you want. It's only when you maybe go back to, like, for example, I have my work phone is an iPhone 10, and you can notice the difference. Like, if you had said to me a couple of years ago, oh, you need ProMotion, I'd be like, what the hell's ProMotion? But now I'm like, yeah, I understand how good that is.
I know it came to the iPad Pro in 2017. I think I've got that iPad that it came to, and it's less noticeable on the iPad. I think because the screen's so big.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Because I've used the iPad Mini 6 as well. I've got that I carry around, and I haven't, even with the jelly scroll thing, I haven't really noticed any real difference between the two. But
Yeah.
it's on the iPhone, it's amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
What
no,
made you
I'm
choose
happy with
the? Sorry.
I was just going to say I'm happy with the new devices that I have. The only sort of thing that I'm a little bit unsure about with the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max is the always on display. I've had a couple of conversations on Twitter with people about this because obviously, as your listeners and viewers probably already know, that was one of the flagship new features. For me, I mean, the phone came out September, so it's been out for a while now, and I'm still finding myself like looking at it thinking I have a notification, and it is weird. It's taking me longer than I thought it would do to adjust to it, and I have considered turning the always on display off, but then I'm like, well, that's one of the main new features, so
Yeah.
so I am happy with the latest technologies, but I'd have to say always on display is taking longer than I expected to adjust to it.
Yeah, it's not as clever as Android devices do always on display. I don't think it rather than turning off certain pixels, like the majority of the pixels of the phone. I think the whole screen's just dimmed, which is a bit. I don't know. It's still using quite a lot of battery, I think, for what people have said. So it's interesting what they've done, but I don't know how useful it would be, especially if you carry an Apple Watch. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, brilliant. What made you choose the Series 8 over the Ultra? Purely because maybe.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. For me, I don't really go out that much. I can't remember the last time I was ever on the edge of a cliff or, deep water diving. So for me, I just don't think I need the Ultra. I mean, there's always that thing in my head that's like, maybe you should go for the Pro. Maybe you should go, like the highest one. But I just couldn't justify it. I only use my Apple Watch for notifications. It's very rare that I would ever make a call on my Apple Watch or reply to a message. It's literally just to check the notifications and to record my workouts. So as much as I was tempted to go for the Ultra, no. I had the Series 4 before that, so I've had the very original Apple Watch, the Series 4, and then the Series 8. I don't tend to upgrade them every year. I just don't personally see the need to. So yeah, the Series 8 was I think it was a wise choice.
Yeah, definitely. I went for the Series 2 and I'm on the Series 5 at the moment. So I don't. The Series 2 over time it got a lot slower, but the Series 5 I've had it for 3 years and it's still like as fast as it was on day one. So I'm pretty happy with mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with what's coming next year, do you think with the Apple stuff? So we're probably it's almost doesn't seem that long ago that we were looking at iOS 16 in June, but it's almost like five months ago, I think. I can't. So look into next year. It's going to come around very fast. What's your wishes and things for iOS 17?
What do I want for iOS 17? I think that one of the rumors that's already sort of circulating is that the Messages app will get an overhaul. That's one of the sort of first thing that comes to mind. And as a person that uses iMessage as sort of their main messaging system over WhatsApp or any other system, that sounds quite interesting. Wish list wise, I would say that definitely Messages upgrades would be on there. What type of message upgrades I'd like, I don't know. But I'd definitely be interested in seeing sort of an overhaul to the Messages system. And touching on the always on display that we mentioned about, I'd like to see the option to customize how dim the displays actually goes. I think that would be quite a sort of good sort of quality of life upgrade for iOS 17. But I think one of the main sort of things for next year to keep a lookout is definitely Apple's venture into AR and VR. That seems to be on the horizon for next year. After years of speaking about it and it being rumored, it finally looks like we are at a point where we may hear Apple announce it. So that's on the radar definitely for next year. in terms of hardware. And of course, we'll have our regular, Mac upgrades, iPad upgrades across the sort of lineup. That's to be expected. But I think probably the biggest news for next year will be Apple's venture into virtual reality.
Definitely. I'm not sure with the iMessage stuff what they can do. I think this year was the undo send. Was that this year, the undo send stuff? Yeah.
It was, yeah.
There was quite a lot of stuff changed with that, so you could edit them and unsend them and reply to things. So I'm not entirely sure what they could do next. But yeah, I'm like you. I use iMessage quite a lot. I used to use WhatsApp for work. Because at work, my old job, everyone was on different platforms. It was just a complete mess. So WhatsApp seemed the best thing. But iMessage is what I'm using at the moment. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the rumors was that it was going to iMessage or Messages app in general was going to get more sort of social media aspects to it. So you could add WhatsApp sort of statuses to say if you're busy or not. I don't know if they're going to go as far as adding maybe one of those green indicators to say when you're active. I don't necessarily know if that's going to come to it. But yeah, I think it was Bloomberg's Mark Gurman was the one that was sort of suggesting that, and he seems to have quite a reputable voice and some good insider knowledge. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But that's one of the first things. When you mentioned iOS 17, that's sort of what sprung to mind. But yeah, I mean, I think we've had very major updates when you look at the past couple of years. We've now had obviously the option to customize the lock screen. We had widgets introduced a year or so ago. So I don't know if the next update could simply be one of those S-style year upgrades where it's very incremental and it's mainly tweaks to the settings and quality of life. But we'll have to see.
With the iPad and the iPhone, there's sort of, I noticed with the last two updates, they're sort of on a TikTok sort of thing. So when the widgets came to the iPhone, the iPad got them a year later. And now with the lock screen and all the new wallpapers and things, on the iPhone you can have like a weather wallpaper. And if you open the phone, the rain will sort of gradually stop. It's quite clever. But that's missing with the iPad, which is a bit weird. So I'm guessing that will come next year as well. I don't know why they're doing some sort of TikTok thing. It's a bit odd, but...
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right on there. I do imagine that the next iPad upgrade, iPadOS 17, probably would bring that. It does seem to be, like you said, that the iPad follows a year behind. And especially now that there's a weather app on the iPad, that's new with this year's update. It only seems like a natural progression, really.
Yeah, I love that update. It's a bit sort of a very silly thing to sort of leave out for such a long time. But every time I click on the widget on the iPad, I forget I'm on the iPad, and then it just launches like weather.com or something. So it's quite useful to have that now. So yeah, especially on the Mac as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Great. So we'll talk about the Twitter stuff at the moment. So that's what brought me into more what was happening with the other week was, I think you were hosting. I'm not sure who was hosting it. Someone was hosting like a Twitter space. And there was some people that were verified on Twitter that were talking about what's going on at the moment. I found that I think I listened to that for about 3 hours on whatever day it was. It was quite interesting. It was quite useful to have a load of people joining the conversation. So yeah, does that something you hosted? I can't remember.
No, I was a speaker on there. I was like you. I just came across it on Twitter. So I was speaking on there, and as you know, Alex, and as your readers and as your viewers and listeners may know, I'm verified on Twitter. So is the Apple Post. So that's 2 verified accounts that I have. So I was invited to speak on there, just to sort of give my opinion as somebody that's already verified, about the changes that are happening. And obviously verification isn't the only big change that's happening to Twitter. There's mass staff layoffs. There's just plenty of changes in the pipeline, really. But that particular Spaces that you heard was about the verification changes, which are coming into effect maybe tomorrow. It was originally rumored to happen. Yeah, originally it was rumored to happen on Monday, which literally just passed. We're on Tuesday today, and apparently they've been paused because there's midterm elections in America, and they didn't want people creating verified accounts near the midterms, and now it's going to be postponed for however long. So my sort of view on it, and as you will have heard said during the Spaces, is I do think Elon Musk is a little bit power crazy at the moment. So just for context, for anybody sort of listening and watching that doesn't know what's happening in the world of Twitter, is that accounts that are notable, maybe represent a government official or a celebrity or anybody in the public eye that's an influential figure, are given a blue badge next to their name. And that just simply states that Twitter has verified that that account belongs to the person that it says it does. So, for example, my account at Tom Sykes is for me, Tom Sykes. That means that Twitter have verified that I am the person tweeting on behalf of that account. So over the years, the Twitter blue badge has become a bit of a status symbol. I think you'll agree, Alex, that there's a lot of people that sort of see the blue tick as superiority in a way, or they see it as I've got this and you don't because it's very exclusive.
A little bit.
So yeah, right. So people want it, and it's not something that you can buy. You can request one, but the chances of getting one are very hard. They're very exclusive. So Elon Musk has turned around, recently just bought Twitter, and he said that he's going to introduce a monthly subscription for $7.99 a month. You will be able to unlock exclusive Twitter perks, including the ability to unsend tweets, to change your app icon, but most importantly, you will automatically get a blue verification badge. Great, everyone wants a verification badge, right? No, that's not. It's not a good move, because it means that the principle of verification is that your identification is verified. Under these new plans, anybody will be able to get a blue tick, which basically means that the whole point of one is now void, because there is nothing stopping me from opening up an account called Alex Lowe. As long as I have $7.99 in my account, I could be a verified Alex Lowe. So this is why it's quite ironic that the rollout of public verification has been paused in the run up to the elections, because it's kind of Twitter admitting that this is a bad idea. The reports that were coming from the New York Times, I think it was saying that they didn't want to have people impersonating politicians or news outlets to sort of spread false news. So there's a lot of changes happening at Twitter. As I said, it's not just verification, but that's the particular topic that I was speaking about very passionately, because I do think that the moment that you start opening up or just giving away blue badges to anybody that pays for it, it kind of, one, defeats the point of even having them. Two, it makes them worthless. What's the point of having one if everybody can have one, because it doesn't prove who's who anymore? But three, it's just sort of it's going to ruin the platform. If you are going to have, for example, impersonating brands in accounts, what's stopping somebody from opening up a verified account representing a bank or a business? So it was something I was speaking quite passionately about on the podcast. I'm sorry, on the Twitter Spaces. But Alex, I'm interested to know your sort of opinion on that, and what you sort of see.
Yeah, it was an interesting space to listen to. I think I can't remember how long it was going on for. It must have been 3 hours. I was just sat there doing some work on the website and listened to it. It's just really interesting. Yeah, the biggest thing I can see is a lot of companies use Twitter for support. Like it's another channel for contact, like getting in touch with customers. And I've seen on Twitter a lot, people will say, "Oh, can I have some help with this sort of thing?" And they'll say, "DM us for more information." As you said, what's to stop some random person starting up a company account which has got a few characters in the handle different, and then maybe obtaining addresses and things? And I don't know. It's going to be a lot more difficult to verify who is a legitimate person that's of
definitely.
Yeah,
I agree, and
I can see a little bit of it.
For me, it's not a case of not wanting anyone else to be verified on Twitter. When I've been looking at Elon Musk's replies, people responding to him, and it's weird. The responses on Twitter are kind of split. The people that do have verified accounts are saying one thing, the people that don't are saying something else. There seems to be this misconception that people that are verified already don't want anybody else being verified because of that exclusivity that I was mentioning before. I can't speak on behalf of every verified user, but I can tell you my point of view. That's completely false. The more people that are verified on Twitter, the better for everybody, because it means that you will know that the person you're speaking to is genuine. But the key word here is verified and verification. If they supply documents to verify who they say they are, they're eligible for a blue tick. That's fine. Give them a blue tick. I don't care. But people that simply are paying for verification without any ID checks prior, that's where I'm just like, what's the point? Because what are you verifying? You're verifying that they have $7.99 to spend. So that's kind of where the conversation and the topic kicks off between a lot of people on Twitter, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of people that see it as that, oh, people like myself don't want to share that exclusivity around the blue badge, but it's not. It's just a case that for me, I had to provide documents to prove that I was who I say I was. And that means that anybody on Twitter searching me knows that that's my official page. But like I said before, I used the example, I could create an account under your name, Alex. And as long as I pay for it, I'm the official Alex Lowe. I could tweet whatever I wanted to. I could say that the Creator Spotlight is going to be doing a giveaway and this and that and whatever to collect all these people details. And it's not going to reflect badly on me, because as far as anyone's concerned, I'm you. So yeah. It just seems very poorly thought out, and that seems to be a lot of people's opinions. I mean, I know verified people, and I've spoken to them about this, and yeah, they're not happy. So let's see what happens. Elon Musk seems to be a man on a mission at the moment. He seems to want to, it's kind of like a kid with a bulldozer. He just wants to destroy as much as he can do, and change as much as he can do. So let's see what the future has in store. I'm not going to go as far as saying this is the end of Twitter, like some people have said. But I do think that he's playing, not just with verification, but just in general, about making people pay $7.99 for certain features, and saying that he wants to like cut advert revenue and this and that. He is playing with the fundamentals of the business and Twitter's model. So I think he just needs to be very careful that he doesn't waste all that money that he's just plowed into it. I saw something interesting before saying that if, I can't remember exactly what percentage it was, but it was something along the lines of, if X amount of Twitter subscribers go to Twitter Blue, that means that there's going to be half the amount of advert revenue for that portion of subscribers, which in turn, even though these people will be paying $7.99 a month, it would actually lose Twitter money, because they wouldn't be seeing the same amount of ads as they would do if they weren't subscribed. Right. So I think the problem is he's jumped in there and he's like, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that, power to the people, as he says. But I don't think the reason that businesses take so long to roll out these features is because a lot of careful planning and consideration goes into it. And he seems to be the one that doesn't want to do the boardroom talks. He just wants to tweet it publicly, I'm going to do this, and then the next day go into the office and make it happen.
Yeah, it's seems to be a lot of. I'm personally, I'm gonna. Probably what we're gonna see is that he's announced all these features, but at some point in the future they're probably going to be backtracked. Something's going to go wrong, and it's going to get backtracked. I think it's not going to work quite as well. I think I can't exactly pinpoint when it's happened, but I think certain things like that have happened with Tesla. I think.
Oh really?
I think things have been announced and it hasn't quite gone right, especially the self-driving thing. I think that is announced. I think some people have paid up to $15,000 for a self-driving feature that isn't even working yet, because it just isn't ready. So yeah, it's the verification feature. I think that, like you said, that people are going to impersonate other people, and it's going to have some public ramifications, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, the issue isn't having more verified accounts on Twitter. That's a good thing for everybody, but the word is verified and verification. So I think to give out these blue badges, there just needs to be some form, even if it's just uploading a picture of your passport, just something simple. That's similar to what Facebook does for verification, but just there needs to be that element of trust. You can't just give out this badge, because like I said, it is seen as a, when you're searching for a user, if they have a blue badge, you do have a little bit of trust, especially when it comes to customer service, like you mentioned. So yeah, let's see what the future. I could speak about it for a long time. Like you said, that Twitter space was up there for about 3 hours. Yeah. So I don't want to waste too much more of your time on it. But yeah, those are my views on it. That right. I think it's dangerous, but let's just see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's just an interesting topic. It's sort of the thing everyone's talking about at the moment. So it's
that's what's hot this week.
It's good to get your opinion on it. So yeah.
One thing that I mentioned earlier was obviously that the Apple Post started 10 years ago, and throughout the way I've had lots of contributing writers that have taken part on the Apple Post, and obviously we've met each other, Alex, through the Apple Post in one way or another through social media. But somebody else I met through the Apple Post was my partner, Deanna. She's been with Deanna now for 9 years, and she's actually the sister of one of the former contributors of the Apple Post. So for me, as I've mentioned in sort of some of the recent press that's been going out about the Apple Post and myself, is that I've met so many amazing people through the Apple Post, and it's opened so many doors and opportunities. So, for example, without the Apple Post, I wouldn't be sat here speaking to you. I wouldn't have my partner. So, I'm very grateful for the Apple Post, what I've achieved over the past 10 years and where it's sort of gone to. So here's for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's amazing how many, if you're on the, sometimes I always think the internet as if you do too much stuff, you might uncover some nasty stuff. I don't know, like maybe people that won't take you as seriously, but as you've shown, there's always a possibility to meet the nice people on the internet. I always think there's more nice people on the internet than there are horrible people. So,
definitely,
it's great to see that you've met some great people. So, I've definitely met some great people. So the job I'm at now, I met by just DMing something on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
That I've known for a little while.
Yeah.
So I'm working for a company called Hostify.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of networking hosting services. So it's just without even speaking on the phone or meeting them in person, I've managed to get a different job. So it's definitely, the internet's definitely a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Meeting
definitely
cool people. So
yeah, no, 100%. And like I said, it's really nice to actually be speaking with you. And before we started the recording, and as I mentioned at the start, we've known each other now for a long time. But I think this is probably the longest we've ever spoken. So it's actually nice to be speaking with you and seeing what you've done with, obviously, Alex and Tom's Text has now evolved into the interface, and you've now got this new Creator Spotlight series. So it's nice to see what you're doing. I know that the podcast today's been about myself and the Apple Post, but it's also nice to see what you've been up to and where you've sort of taken the pages. Yeah, so I'm glad that everything is still going well for you.
Thank you. Yeah. The interface it'll be 10 years in May.
Yeah.
So I'm not I don't think I've got anything massive planned for it. But yeah, it's a good project. I think it's one of my main hobbies, and I don't know what I'd probably do in my spare time without it.
Exactly. I thought that. It's when things get tough and you're like, oh, I'm just going to give this up, because I think we all have those days, where if you're late to cover news, or if you just feel like you're trailing behind, you're like, should I even just continue? But I genuinely don't know what I would do without it, because I've met my friends through here and I've seen so many things, and I've met up with so many people. So it's just, it wouldn't be the same without it.
No, I'm always late with news on the interface. It doesn't really matter anymore. The interface still gets a lot of traffic, considering how big it is in terms of followers. So it's still paying the bills, like for the hosting and stuff. So it's not costing any money, which is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you need to be.
But with the podcast stuff, I started. So the interface has joined up with somebody called James Billsborough, and we're now doing a joint podcast together called Charging Status, all about EVs. So one thing that I'd started on interface last year or the year before was a lot more car news and EV news. EVs are something that is such an important thing at the moment. So we're sort of diversifying away from Apple and technology stuff and talk about networking and cars and EVs. And the traffic for EVs is growing and growing of people interested in it. So we've got a monthly podcast that we're doing in joint partnership, and it's talking about all the EV news from last month, because there's not much stuff. There's not many podcasts talking about UK focused EV stuff. It's all about US at the moment. So.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to find your niche. And as I mentioned before, the Apple Post is no way the biggest Apple news page out there. But when I sort of started off, I tried to establish my own niche. Being dyslexic, like I mentioned before, I noticed that a lot of these pages that were uploading stories would just be words after words after words. There was no sort of real focus on the imagery, no sort of straight to the point, no sort of easy to read, digestible information. And that's what I tried to do with the Apple Post, and so far that's worked very well for me. So I'm glad that you found your sort of niche and you're expanding into EVs. I agree with you, that's sort of like the new thing now. I recently was taken around in a Tesla, absolutely loved it. Yeah, my father, for example, has just bought an EV. So yeah, they're definitely
nice.
they're the future.
Yeah, they're great. I've as part of the podcast, I have an EV that we talk about each month. So I'm not in the most ethical way possible. They're sort of blag test drives of the latest EVs, and then we talk about them on the podcast of what the experience is like. So yeah, EVs to drive. Have you driven one? Have you driven an electric car before? Yeah, it's such an amazing thing to drive. It's especially in traffic, and I haven't got one yet.
Well, the thing is, I've test driven an EV, but literally learning to drive. So I'm 25. Today, actually, I'm doing my first proper driving lesson. So there you go. There's like an exclusive thing for the Creator Spotlight. I've driven, as I said, my father's got an EV. So a couple of weeks ago, he just took me like around the private land, and we were just learning to drive the basics and things like that. When I was 17, one of my sort of presents was an intensive driving lesson course. And the night before that I was supposed to do my lessons, the instructor broke his knee. So my lessons were cancelled. Things got in the way. You know, you start working, you start doing all these different things. And it always just got sort of pushed to the side. So now is the time. So today is a busy day for me. I've obviously been looking forward to the spotlight. This is now, this has been one of the top things I've been looking forward to, is doing the podcast today. But then after this, I will be getting behind the wheel for the first time. So if it all goes well, you might see me again. If not, you know what's happened.
What are you driving? So I've noticed with some driving lessons sort of cars, there are some electric cars that you can learn to drive. Are you driving in manual?
I am learning in automatic. So hey, listen, I've got a small brain. I don't need to be worrying about gears. I just want to learn to steer, brake, and accelerate. That's all I need to worry about. And I think, joking aside, I think you'll agree that that's the way the industry's going anyway. There's so many sort of automatic cars out there, diesel and petrol cars. They're, sort of seen as the old models now. And of course, there's still some great cars out there that are electric, and I can't speak, get my words mixed up. There's some great cars out there that are petrol and diesel, but the way forward, in my opinion, is automatic and electric. So that's where I've been focusing my attention. I will be learning in an automatic car today. So yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, sounds good fun.
Yeah. Have you got any tips for me? Have you got any tips for me? Because I know you're obviously big into your cars. So what was your this might be a good one. What was your first driving lesson like?
Go on. My first driving lesson wasn't too bad. It was when I was 18, so I did it a year after the legal cut-off thing, whatever you call it. Yeah, it was good. I had quite a lot of lessons, just because I think I was just a bit nervous about doing it. But it's such a big freedom thing to be able to drive. So I passed not too long afterwards, maybe 2 years after that. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'll keep you posted, and if I've done well enough today, maybe you can have me on in a couple of months, and I can give you a bit of an update.
yeah, sounds good. Definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you for joining me on the Creator Spotlight, Tom. It's been great to catch up with you after all these years. It's been good to speak to you, and congratulations on the Apple Post turning 10. It's hope here's to 20. Maybe good to see that.
Definitely. That's the goal anyway.
Yeah, great. So if people want to get hold of you or follow you on the internet, where can they see you?
Facebook, Twitter, online. Just search for the Apple Post. You'll be able to find us there. We do coverage analysis on all things Apple. So if you're into your technology and want to hear what's next with Apple, please do check us out. And give me a tweet. Say that you've listened to the Creator Spotlight, and I'll make sure we give you a follow back.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for joining me. Yeah. Thank you.